Sisi maneno yetu ni mafupi tu. Tunasema tu 2 term. Ama kuna maneno mengine? 2 term. Sio? Si tunangojea tu debe iletwe, hata kama hatutakuwa na votes tutamuibia. Hiyo si siri.
Tutawanyorosha asubuhi na mapema ndio muende ICU. Sasa wacha hiyo na kura tutajaza. Hii kura hii tutajaza. Usijali, kura itajaa. Sitajaa.
Mimi ndio mwenye hiyo safa.
If elections were called today, I want to tell Kenyans that Ruto is still unbeatable. Why? Because he has IEBC system under his lock and key.
Mimi ndio mwenye hiyo safa. So wakati nimesikia viongozi wakiongea hapa, nimeifungua kidogo. Sasa wacha niwaambie maneno. Unajua mimi ndio nashikilia ile safa ambayo rafiki yetu mzee wetu Raila Odinga alikuwa anatafuta kila wakati.
Ruto will not cede power to anybody. Even though he is plagued, he is setting his eyes on the elections. And between now and the elections, no one knows if you'll actually be able to cross over. If elections were called today, I want to tell Kenyans that Ruto is still unbeatable. Why? Because he has IEBC system under his lock and key. If elections are held now, majority of Kenyans will vote Ruto out. But the thing is, you'll never know the truth. Why? Your IEBC is a deadly monster, manipulatable. It cheated Odinga of his victory 5 times. Is it 5 or 4 times? 4 times. It cheated Raila of his victory. And so it's a system that even today, anybody that becomes president will want to use it. It is manipulatable. And so Kenyans, the unreformed IEBC is actually what will give Ruto presidency. Ruto will never relinquish power. That's why play number 9 and 10 are the only plays that are sure. But you know what? If Ruto repents and make peace with God, Kenyans repent and make peace with God, God can show mercy to the Republic Kenya, and that's because you need to forgive Ruto. If that happens, God can actually repent and can prolong and maybe forward this plague. And Ruto can be healed, because Hezekiah was sick to death. He was healed and was given 15 years. But Hezekiah sought God. Ruto has also sought.
Following a month-long enhanced continuous voter registration by IEBC from March 30th to April 28th, 2026, that saw Kenyans rallied upon to enlist as voters with initiatives such as the Gen Z-led Niko Kadi campaign, political leadership, as well as IEBC itself, an additional 2.6 million voters were added to Kenya's voter register. 2.3 million voters were netted during this year's month-long enhanced registration phase from 30th March and 276,000 voters when continuous registration began in September 2025, bringing the total number of registered voters to 24.7 million.
From the performance perspective, the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise in 2026 has particularly recorded notable improvements, both in terms of the efficiency and output compared to previous large-scale registration initiatives.
However, as the month-long process was rolling on, questionable activities were recorded. On April 6th, a frustrated Maurice Kioko in Mombasa County took NTV crew to an IEBC registration center to prove his allegations after discovering that his details had already been captured in the system, yet he had never registered before.
Nilipoenda kituoni, kila wakiverify details zangu zinasema mwaka huambatani. So ikabidi niende ofisini. Kufika ofisini wakiangalia ID yangu ilirejistiwa na mtu ambaye yuko Garissa. Sura ni Msomali lakini majina kamili yote ni yangu, ID number ni yangu, lakini sehemu ya kupiga kura si zangu. Kitambulisho changu nilichukua mwaka 2016. Sijai register. Kura ya kwanza sikupiga. Nilikuwa nafanya NYS, so sikuweza kujiandikisha. After huko sasa hii ndio ilikuwa mwaka wangu wa kwanza nilikuwa nataka kujiandikisha. Lakini nikienda kuangalia napata mambo ni tofauti vile nilivyokuwa natarajia. Kama iko uwezekano wa wao kushughulikia, kwa sababu kama mimi imenitendekea, najua wako wengine pia waende waangalie, kwa sababu samaki moja hawezi kuwa amekufa peke yake baharini. Wako wengi. Sijaipiga kura. Ndio mwaka wangu wa kwanza nilikuwa nataka kupiga kama kijana Gen Z. Tujitokeze tuseme tuko kadi, lakini kadi yangu naona ni kama ilitangulia kabla ya mimi.
During Thursday's media briefing by IEBC, the Commission was quick to dismiss when NTV sought to find out how the anomaly occurred and whether the same has been rectified. The Commission appeared hostile.
However, please, let's not go into those. We know that particular case that happened in Mombasa, and we asked the gentleman, come to our offices. We will look at the systems and it will be resolved. However, please, we ask the gentleman, one of our commissioners is handling that case.
Maurice Kioko's case might not be the only one. On April 21st, Embakasi West legislator Mark Mwenje sought a statement from the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament to know why some newly registered voters from his constituency have details showing they are voters in Garissa and Wajir counties, yet they don't come from those regions.
Concerns have been raised that during the ongoing verification exercise, several registered voters within Nairobi City County have allegedly been assigned polling stations outside Nairobi, with some reflected as registered voters in Garissa County. This development raises serious concerns regarding the integrity, accuracy, and credibility of the voters' register. Such irregularities, if confirmed, have the potential to undermine public confidence in the electoral process and may occasion disenfranchisement of voters who are unable to access their designated polling stations. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on the following. 1, the veracity of the allegations regarding the transfer of voters from Nairobi City County to Garissa County and the extent of the affected voters.
On what Honorable Mwenje has raised, I am a bit lost on what impact does it have, because every citizen has a right to transfer.
You're out of order. Any citizen can register to vote anywhere. What Mwenje is asking is illegal transfer, not legal transfer. So you don't have to interrogate that. When do you bring a response? If you listen to him, he said, people are finding themselves involuntarily transferred to vote elsewhere. Isn't that what Mwenje you said? Yes. If anybody is involuntarily transferred, DK, that's an illegality.
Something was brought to my attention that there are voters in Embakasi West and Embakasi Central. Now, West is my constituency. That these people, when they register as voters, they are being registered in northeastern constituencies. So that issue was even raised by the MCA for South B. Waithera, she raised it at first, and I saw it, and I decided to investigate first because I'm a lawyer by profession, so I want to have facts. So I decided to go to the ground. Now, as politicians, we push people, can you go and register, go and register. Now, some of those youths have come back to me and have gotten where they are registered as voters. So I have the facts with me here. You find somebody in a polling station, such as one of mine, which is called Dr. Mwenje Secondary School. That's a polling center. the individual goes there to register as a voter, but ends up in a constituency in Garissa. You go, you find another one, they end up in a constituency in Wajir. And all these things were happening in Embakasi West and Embakasi Central. So once I've gotten quite a number of them, is why I had to bring and raise a statement. My assumption is somebody who lives there, I am the one, together with other, even with aspirants and other people, we are pushing these people to register. Why would somebody be going to register as a voter? You live in my constituency, but you register to vote in a very far-flung polling center in Balambala constituency or Ijara constituency. It doesn't make sense. So that is where, now once I'd gotten a pattern, and I discussed with my colleague from Embakasi Central, the Honorable Major Donk, he also told me he's noticed the same pattern.
The Member of Parliament is armed with several cases he wants the poll agency to come clean on. For purposes of data privacy, NTV will only mention one name. Kimani registered at Dr. Mwenje Center. His polling station now reads Dibe Mobile, Danaba Ward, Wajir North constituency. Muteru has been listed as a voter at Bula AP Polling Center, Ijara Ward, Garissa County. Mungai is indicated as a voter at Siklei Polling Center, Danyere Ward, Balambala constituency, Garissa County. Kigia's polling center is Bula AP, Ijara Ward, Ijara constituency, Garissa County. Mweni has been registered as a voter at Ijara Livestock Market Polling Center, Garissa County.
What I want IEBC to do is to give us these details. You see, I already have mine. I actually, that's what I was looking at my phone. I actually have individuals, yeah? A gentleman here called Sam Nimrod Kimani, he registered at Dr. Mwenje. Now he's found himself in Wajir North, a polling center known as Dibe Mobile. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. When I inquired from the Member of Parliament, he told me this is one of the farthest corners. So even the members, I want to thank the Members of Parliament from Northeastern, because once I've raised it, they've come to me, some of them, and they've told me, Mwenje, what is this you're talking about? I'm telling them, people from Nairobi are being registered as voters, and I start showing them some of these names. There's a gentleman here called Christopher Muteru. He was taken to Ijara, and the polling center is Bula AP dispensary. When I spoke to the MP for Ijara, he told me, this is a very far-flung center. Who has taken him there? And this individual lives in my constituency. Yeah? I have another one here, Moiro Mongai. He was taken to Balambala. I spoke to the MP from Balambala. His name is Shuri. I'm asking him, now, just check this. So he tells me, I don't know who these people are. Why are they registering in those areas? And I'm telling him, if these are people who are working there, and you'd know the people who maybe have come to Nairobi to work and then go there. These are people who live in my constituency. They are youths that have picked, and they're the ones who are giving me these dates. So you can see I have quite a number. Abraham Kegia, he's been moved to Ijara as well. Ken Mweni will move to Ijara Livestock Market Polling. So they've given me the details already. So I already have close to 20 or 26 cases that I've gotten.
What raises eyebrows is why the 5 who registered in Embakasi West have found their details, mainly in Garissa County and Balambala constituency, just like Maurice Kioko.
There's no coincidence here. When I've gotten this number of cases, and my colleague in Embakasi Central has gotten that kind of case, and you're finding it there, it means there's somebody deliberately doing this intentionally, moving these votes to the Northeastern region. So it is not a coincidence. It is deliberate. I have a case. Last week, we were issuing bursaries. Usually when we issue bursaries, we consider those people who are registered in our constituencies because the dynamics of Nairobi, and those are the people we prefer. Yet, when I was doing that process, there is a lady that I met from Molem Ward, my constituency, who, when she goes on the portal, her details come out as that she has double registration as a voter. Now, this is a lady that I know. She had her original ID. She lives in Molen. But when she goes onto the portal, the IEBC portal is saying she's registered twice. How can that be? She didn't get a chance to vote in 2022 because of that issue. Now, I've sent her to the IEBC office to try get that issue sorted. And it still hasn't been sorted, but we're still following up with our returning officer. But those cases are there. These people that I've read have nothing to do with Northeastern. In fact, and you know, they are young people. You know, the Gen Zs don't have the rural. Even me, I'm born here in Nairobi. But more so for the Gen Zs, this is where they've been born and brought up. So if they're in Nairobi, they're in Nairobi. But if they would go to their rural areas where maybe their parents or grandparents come from, these people would go to Central. I think there's one, Kambani. So I know where they would go. So when you find them in such areas, you ask them, have you ever even visited that constituency? They don't even know where it is.
Sisi maneno yetu ni mafupi tu. Tunasema tu two term. Ama kuna maneno ingine? Two term. Sio? Si tunangojea tu debe iletwe. Hata kama hatutakuwa na votes, tutamuibia. Hiyo si siri.
Tutawanyorosha asubuhi na mapema. Ndio muende ICU sasa. Wacha hiyo na kura tutajaza. Hii kura hii. Tutajaza. Msijali, kura itajaa. Sitajaa.
Remember, we vote using our biometrics, but there is also a provision that in case your biometrics don't work, we go to the manual register and the ID. It means if you are very sure that this young person will not be there to vote, then somebody can manipulate it. It is a very serious issue because people have come out to register as voters. You've seen the numbers, especially here in Nairobi, we are leading. We'd like to think that IEBC is doing a good job, that the youth have come out, this time and give them a chance to express themselves on the ballot. And then you can imagine if they find themselves that they cannot vote. Imagine the disappointment these youths would have and the chaos that you could cause for us. So it is something of concern. And I've also had other members of parliament now start raising the same issue.
Now, IEBC surely, you can't keep quiet with all these happenings. It actually means that the staff, even though Marajan left, the secretariat of IEBC needs thorough overhaul.
There is somebody who is liable. There is a secretariat that is permanent at IEBC, and there is the temporary staff. I don't believe that some of these young temporary staff would play along to this situation.
During the Isiolo South parliamentary by-election held on 26 February 2026, the returning officer, Abdi Sheikh, cancelled Garbatula polling station results over 100 vote Kim's discrepancy.
And then I take you to see, disregard the results of the account of a polling station where the total votes exceeds the total number of voters who turned out to vote in that polling station. And for this reason, I, the returning officer, hereby declare that the results for Garbatula Day Primary School Station 1 of 1 hereby invalidate the results for this polling station.
The commissioner supervising that by-election was Hassan Nur, who was swift to downplay the matter, despite its seriousness.
It doesn't taint credibility of an election. Sometimes you find the staff are heavily fatigued and they are bound to make human error. So we are looking at the results, because all along the results as posted at different times of the day is very consistent. It's absolutely consistent. It's just that one number that is creating the confusion. And we are looking in depth into this matter. And up to now, we have not yet pinpointed whether there was any ill motive towards this error.
The issue that happened in Isiolo South, it actually is similar to what happened in Venezuela. And these companies, Mathematic they have been indicted in so many places. in the Philippines, in Venezuela. Trump has been complaining because his company does not use the name Smartmatic when they went to the USA.
The contest was between two children of the late Member of Parliament Mohamed Tubi, whom they were seeking to succeed. The son running on the ruling UDA party won against the sister, who was a Jubilee candidate. On 15th March 2026, NTV in a Tell It All interviews laid bare the elaborate scheme assembled by government's deep state to swindle late Raila Odinga his December 2007 presidential election victory, the stolen ballot. In that explosive expose, one of the star witnesses, media mogul SK Macharia, who confessed his role in the mess, had claimed that there is no legit voter register and what IEBC owns is fake, prevailing upon President William Ruto to ensure there is a new voter register in place before the next general election, a matter the IEBC boss has dismissed.
We went to Naivasha to plan for the election of Raila as a candidate. Again, remember, it is Uhuru against Raila, and I'm campaigning for Raila. And at Naivasha, I tried to explain that the register that is going to be used has fake. I tried to convince Raila that the voter register that is going to be used is not proper, and they should give it to us, even if we are going to be his agents and organize the agents. He didn't think so, and because of the handshake with the Uhuru, he thought it is a free flow. Just for jokes, 2022 election comes. It's Raila against Ruto. They were saying we have deep states, and Ruto would tell them which deep states you have.
Why have we not gone to state house when we have actually won the elections through votes? This is because there is something which we were missing. And that's something which we were missing is called system. Some people are saying our system is not important, but system is very important. And now we are with Uhuru Kenyatta, who is holding the system. So if the system plus our votes, which are always more than the others, what else? What else do we need?
Tunatishiwa ati iko system, ati iko deep state, ati iko watu watatuibia kura. Hata mkipiga kura namna gani, kuna watu wameketi mahali fulani wataamua. Mimi nataka niwaambie hawa watu tunawangojea. Hiyo deep state tunangojea, na hiyo system tunangojea.
But these 4 commissioners that will resign in the end or were fired, they came to my house and I showed them how the register is not true. But that's how, obviously, again, and you remember Musando, that's how the votes have been put in. And now I come to 2022 election, whereby I try to convince Raila that the voter register that is going to be used is not proper, and they should give it to us, even if we are going to be his agents and organize the agents. He didn't think so, and because of the handshake with the Uhuru, he thought it is a free flow. Just for jokes, 2022 election comes, it's Raila against Ruto. They were saying they were saying we have deep states, and Ruto would tell them which deep states you have, because Ruto knew exactly how the extra votes will be put it doesn't matter. You know, I'm 82 years. If I get kidnapped or hijacked, 84. It doesn't matter.
In all these other issues, we were not there, so we cannot verify those kind of allegations. So we'll treat them as allegations that are not substantiated.
The new sheriff in town distancing his team from the sins of the past commissions.
You learn from your history and the past mistakes. You cannot sweep that under the carpet. But how you use those lessons moving forward is the most important part.
Immediate former Attorney General Justin Bidan Muturi claims while in Mombasa presiding over his final National Assembly leadership retreat with parliamentary journalists on Friday 13th May 2022, he received a call from then Deputy President William Ruto asking him to imperatively fly to Nairobi for a critical meeting at his Karen official residence, 2 days before naming of his running mate. Upon arrival late afternoon, Muturi claims he was kept waiting for over 2 hours and was ready to leave since it was getting dark when his host emerged.
So, in the course of discussions with me, actually, the reason I did not come I did not come out immediately is because I was meeting those 3 gentlemen. I asked him which ones. That's when he told me there in the main house he was holed up in a meeting with Chepkati, Professor Gulie, and Commissioner Bolu Molu. Currently is a commissioner of Public Service Commission. Of course, Gulie now is an advisor to William Ruto. Our friend, the late Chepkati, I think he got his reward when the wife was appointed the chairperson of the Commission on Revenue Allocation. So, so everything fits in quite well. And so when he told me he was meeting them, I said, oh, that's great. I told him, actually they are the only ones who have now some what you would call reasonable experience in matters IEBC, because the other lot and come in quite late. The famous Cherera 4.
So,
and he was, I could see he was very excited. He's very excited about the story. When he was telling me that, and I was telling him that, I was telling him these ones they're the ones now actually who form the core of the commission.
It's also in public information now, they have also parted ways. And therefore, whenever people who have had certain relationships part ways, it is normal and it's expected that they will start maligning each other. And so I think that's in public information. But coming back to the question you have asked, there has not been any such meeting. And because the meeting was not there, I have nothing to tell you about the substance of the meeting.
I'll just ask a question, what I remember about that period. And the thing I remembered was that particular occasion. And doesn't it surprise you that the trio, Chepkati, Gulie, Molu, have all had some form of reward from William Ruto? I mean, it's not rocket science to read between the lines. In fact, I would want Gulie to tell the country, as a commissioner of IEBC, then, what he knows about the local partners of Smartmatic.
All I would tell him is to leave me out in his wars with his former boss. I am not a party to whatever happened between them. I am a retired citizen, and he needs to give me peace and not to drag me in his attempts to malign his former friend and boss. A meeting of that nature that involves a chairman of the commission and two of the most senior, by then we were the most senior commissioners of the commission, could not happen in hiding. He says it was happening at the DP's residence in Karen. That was a public place, if you recall. I'm sure people used to go in and out of that place. So it is not possible that three of us could be in a meeting without anyone else recognizing our presence.
Did three of you ever have a meeting, whatever meeting with the then Deputy President at any point?
Not that I recall of. We have had engagements that were public.
Talks about vote rigging of the 2022 elections were sparked by then sitting Gatundu South Member of Parliament, Moses Kiarie Kuria, in March 2022 during a Kenya Kwanza Coalition high-profile meeting, as well as Jubilee's Murang'a woman representative at the time, Sabina Wanjiru Chege, a matter IEBC openly ignored, despite summoning the two politicians.
Unajua kule Central, nimesikia wengine wakisema hapa tuliwaibia. Kuna kaukweli kidogo, lakini kama tulijua kuiba, si hata hii tutafanya nini? Alafu
sisi ndio tulikuwa tunashidia Uhuru kura, na sisi ndio tulikuwa tunamuibia kura. Akili yote iliweka Uhuru kwa kiti iko hapa. Ile iko Azimio ni mwili peke yake. And I want to assure you all, kama kuna mtu ataangusha William Ruto sio mlima. Because we work as one team. And it is not something new. We have done it before.
The Commission will proceed and take action on Moses Kuria in terms of the law. Our team will investigate, and if the wording is said is confirmed and found to be offensive, then we shall proceed to summon him. Of course, we heard what he said, but he has his right to defend himself, so we also need to collect the evidence and before we summon him. So that is the work which the investigation team is working on.
In August 2017 general election, then NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga filed an explosive petition late in the night, challenging Jubilee candidate President Uhuru Kenyatta's win, a petition which was upheld by the Apex Court. Late Senior Counsel Feroz Norji was among the battery of advocates who represented late Odinga.
What were the means of transmission? That already creates another area of hopeless doubt, which has not been cleared. But let us assume that they were transmitted electronically, and when that predictably failed, they were going on with another system. But whatever it is, 34As had 41,034As had to reach the National Tallying Center. And they reached on that day. Maybe they reached on the 11th, on the 10th. My lords, then we do not know what happened to them. On the 14th, on the 11th, they're not there. 12th, they're not there. 13th, they're not there. 14th, they're not there. My lords, they have gone into the IEBC headquarters, and then we hear no more about them until later, and I come to that. My lords, there is in the mid-Atlantic Ocean, near Bermuda, an area where ships that have gone into this area never seem to come out, and nobody knows what happens to them. This is called the Bermuda Triangle. And the Bermuda Triangle is notorious for the absence of knowledge of what happens to ships that go into this triangle. My lords, we have emulated that, and this is the Bomas Triangle. 34 A's come in, and then they disappear. We don't know what happens to them. My lords, this is not law, this is not accuracy, this is not verifiability, this is not transparency, this is something, unfortunately, that can only give rise to a very questionable sequence. Where were then these forms? Why were 11,034 A's missing for 5 days after the election? 6 days, actually.
A declaration is hereby issued that the presidential election held on 8th August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law, rendering the declared results invalid, null, and void.
In March 2026, former Deputy President Jeffrey Rigathi Gachagua sensationally claimed he also played a role in manipulation of the 2007 presidential election.
Pale kwetu mwaka wa 2007 tukaona Kibaki yako kwa shida, tukachukua kura zote kutoka watu tulikuwa naenda police station, tunaongea na OCS, tunampatia kitu ya kukula, anatupatia maabusu, anaenda napigia Kibaki, anarudi kwa sel.
Transport Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir, an IT expert who served as Director of Information Technology at the Interim Independent Electoral Commission, is said to have played a critical role for Jubilee Alliance in 2013 and 2017 presidential election, in which he was appointed Chief Presidential Agent. On Thursday, during the burial of his father, late Edwin Koech, in Bomet County, top political leaders openly applauded him for his reported skills.
Hapo awali tulikuwa tunasikia tu jina Chirchir. Unajua tulikuwa 2013 katika ile NAS code pamoja na Weta na Musalia, tulikuwa pale code na NASA. Sasa tulikuwa tunashinda uchaguzi lakini hatutangazwi. Sasa tulikuwa tunauliza kwa nini hatutangazwi? Tunaambiwa Chirchir. Hey! Tukasema hii ni maneno gani sasa?
I have known Davis Chirchir first in the negative, as Gladys Wanga said, because we used to be told he was such wizardry in computer science that he could hijack numbers moving from polling stations to the tallying center, interfere with them, put them back, and let them go in a different form. Davis, I can assure you, I later learned that you are simply more organized than our team. And when we came together, your organizational skills spoke it all.
Mheshimiwa Junet, you know this Davis Chirchir is our numbers person kwa hii pande yetu. Na mara mingi huwa mnapiga kelele mnasema amefanya kitu. You have seen now the level of organization. When you are organized and led by a man such as this, utashinda uchaguzi. So welcome to government.
Smartmatic International Holdings, whose controversial contract extension by former IEBC Chief Executive Officer Hussein Marjan, when there were no commissioners in office, remains a hot potato that the current commission appears not ready to touch.
Wachana mambo ya mathematics. I've told you before, when it comes to election technology, you know, this is a public commission. We are funded by taxpayers, and we are accountable to Parliament. We are accountable to the Auditor and Controller General. We are accountable to almost everybody. So we haven't taken a decision on the technology we'll use 2027. So that tells you which direction I'm heading.
Idea challenge them. Some of this data is not held here locally. Some of our data. Because when the Supreme Court ordered that they open the servers, Smartmatic, writing from their headquarters, one of their headquarters, they don't have one headquarters in Amsterdam. On the 1st of August, 2022, they said they cannot allow that because it's going to interfere with their intellectual property. So the question that Kenyans must ask is, how do you enter into a contract with a company, a foreign company, that which has access to Kenyan data, but which cannot even be accessed by Kenyans, even including obeying a court order, a Kenyan court order? Remember, I raised the issue in January this year. I raised the issue that Jose Camargo spent the weekend of 5th and 6th July 2025 here at State House. And they were with Marjan Hussein Marjan. And William, I don't know, I don't just raise issues. I have terrible evidence. I remember I raised that issue in January this year. I said, please check this. That's how we ended up getting, the commission even ended up agreeing to sack Marjan, to retire him. Although, in my view, he should have been taken to court because he breached the law by illegally extending a contract.
Muturi was a key cog in the Kenya Kwanza campaign machinery. So, was the 2022 presidential election credible?
Now, with the information that I have, though it's I don't want people to say that, people will say that it's because I fell out with William. But I think, given what I've described, I would want Kenyans to actually make their own inferences about the credibility of the 2022 elections.
On 5th September 2022, immediately after the Supreme Court ruling on the presidential election petition upholding IEBC's declaration of William Ruto as duly elected president, outgoing head of state Uhuru Kenyatta addressed the nation. He disagreed with the Supreme Court ruling and raised a number of issues, urging Kenyans to constantly put constitutional institutions to test.
They must constantly scrutinize the coherence of the truth given by these institutions and to ask themselves whether the truth has been coherent from one election to another. Has there been a consistent pattern that is acceptable to our democratic ethos? We must ask ourselves, is it about numbers or is it about process? Which of these two is it? And can our institutions rule one way in one election and another way in another election without scrutiny? I do invite you, Kenyans, to keep vigil and indeed to hold all institutions to account. The second thing we must place under scrutiny is whether the truth given by institutions has correspondence. That is, do the truths given by our institutions correspond with what is observable by the citizen?
When he opened up about his involvement in presidential election results, senior citizen, businessman S.K. Macharia made a passionate plea to President William Ruto.
I want to tell President Ruto, and it's good that Raila is here, if he wants to leave this country, good, because he's the president and we cannot do anything, yeah? Whether he won the election or he didn't win, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. But the only thing that can help us is to make sure that a new register of voters is created. If election comes before I pass on, like retiring in the next 2.5 years or so, so that all Kenyans can cast votes, and each vote will, even if I lose, he loses, at least he will leave a good country that counts votes.
The issue of crisis and confidence and trust, Khaemba, it is up to you, Khaemba. If you tell Kenyans that don't trust IBC, of course they will take your word, right? But if you tell them, IBC, we speak, we ask questions, we answer. If there's anything balanced, you can come to the office when I come back.
Every electioneering process we've gone through, they have left us wounded, divided, disadvantaged, and with a lot of losses plus deaths. And you know what? Setbacks in matters destiny. So we can pick up pieces and try to find our ways again. Nobody loves that one. And all the elections have been telling us. Today, even every media house and every politician now are agreeing with what I told them. And I first said it then. Today, they are now in agreement that we are a nation that have been having stolen presidencies, governments that are not justified of God to be in power. We've been having strange leaders, strange government, strange administration that even God in heaven wonders. How did someone become president? Hosea 8 verse 4. God will be shocked. Who is president? Who is governor? Who is an MCA? Who is a senator? God, Bible confirms that even God can get shocked. Yeah. They have set up kings but not by me. That is verse number 4. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. That means presidencies and power in governments by cash, by money, by riches. And Kenya's case sets the standard for Africa, where our elections are stolen, processes are manipulated, and kings are not by God's choice. Kings are by man's pocket. Kenya's church loves it, and bishops clap for it. Then they go eat biscuit and mandazi in State House, courtesy of the one that has stolen elections. And by the time they are announced, people have died who actually believed that those elections were not true. Now, thank God for S.K. Macharia. It has been actually a year of confessions. And I pray that may all those who knew the truth confess while they are alive. You are 90 years old. Some are 100 years old. Some are 70. Don't go to the grave with the truth, lest you be like one Chebukati. He went with the truth. And you know what? You will feature him in hell. Because he is also the cause for many innocent deaths. A bloody referee. And the commissioners of IBC, those years, plus chairmen of such lying commissions. Someone remember Samuel Kivuitu? They did not die ordinary deaths. So there are people who confirms. And I've been one that reveal things here as God reveals to me, but people will take me not very serious. Today the whole world know that I say the truth. Told us that Kenya has only had one presidential election that was credible, valid, and true. That was the only one. And it was when Moi, the late, that's Daniel Arap Moi, handed over power to Kibaki, who was fronted by the opposition. That was 2000. That was actually 2000 and what? You remember. 2002. The term that followed after, Kibaki stole. And I told the Kenyans, hiyo ilikuwa ni sarakasi. So, Kibaki, who was actually in contending with Raila Odinga. Raila won. Kibaki cheated his way into second term. But people died. In this area, people died. Now, both Raila Odinga and Kibaki, they have died without having championed for the compensation of the IDPs and person that lost it because of the clashes. Then, as God will have it, his judgment was so. Kibaki died. And you can believe me, he's not in heaven. Hell. I've told you visions about these people in hell. When I say about Raila Odinga, please make your ways right. He said, whether one makes hell or makes heaven, no problem. If you make hell, we shall meet our friends there. I say, wow, that's sad. So I don't know if he's met his friends there. People taunt prophets. When a prophet talks, you taunt them. I say, if you taunt us and we are the last, who will deliver you? Those IDPs are poor in these areas today. I fed IDPs. Hapa Kiamba, my house was just actually some kilometers from Kiamba Church. Next election that followed, Kibaki anointed Uhuru. Uhuru came in and played Raila Odinga a game. He won the elections. Then he was also played, courtesy of Kenya's system that IBC is good at. Now, it has been it has been actually like that, lying processes. Now, this is where I'm faulting Kenyans and I'm also faulting politicians. Now, they are saying they are going to the same elections with the same schemes. Smartmatica has been the company that is well versed in stealing elections globally. Only thieves enlist their services. May the state here and may the church here, you are going down the same road of bloodshed, calamity, and disaster. You cannot be doing something same way, same method, over and over, and expect different results. So I hear Kalonzo, I hear those outfits that they are like Ruto one term. I say, I hear they are saying Ruto one term. I say, you should have been clever to make sure the ground is level. Make sure the ground is level. The IBC should have been defunct, all of it. Then bring a new one. Process will have been the process should be interrogated and done away with so that you have new one. And nothing like mathematical should actually appear. New commissioners, everything new. Total reforms of electioneering process. I have told them repeatedly, walijifanya hawasiki. Then they tell you, we are going to the elections. I say, some of us may as well as fly outside the nation and watch you from there. Wakati mnapigana na kutuangana na kuumana. You despise the prophet gives you counsel. Then you say, God help us. I say, God will help you. When you refuse to hear his prophet, you'll die your deaths. And as things are right now, whether Kalonzo Matiang'i, whether Gachagua, whether Uhuru, they gang up, whatever, they will not unseat Ruto. Only plague number 9 and plague number 10, which is ordained of God, will actually remove Ruto from power. Otherwise, expect a supernatural miracle to have Ruto exit State House. So someone tell Kalonzo, you go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel has no power to help you. The entire Kenyan Senate went and drank tea at Ezekiel's altar. Look at all of them. Urundi Yarunda. Urundi Yarunde. Wiyo wila wila. I said that they got themselves corrupted. If the political class wants true elections, they should be true in what they are championing. They are championing for wrong things, a wrong cause. First things first is reforms actually that touches on election process. People can register, but the machinery is the same. The way they were stolen before, the way is the same way they'll be stolen again. And no one will wait to reach there, because between now and then, a lot of things are bound to happen. A lot of things are bound to happen. That's why if you're a genuine, true Christian, pray for your soul, pray for your family, really believe God. And I told the state, I told the political class, suspend this politicking you're doing. Suspend everything. Have the nation go through reformations or reforms to do with the elections. And others said that one will actually prolong Ruto in power. I said, look, you are thinking small. Better 3 years, but fix what actually shall help in leading us as a nation through a righteous electioneering process. So they say, let us go with the rotten process the way it is. And that includes, that allows corruption and messing up and manipulation of elections. The result will be policemen will kill people, thugs will find their way in power, MCAs that bought their ways, and it will just be thieves in power. That's why Nairobi is the way it is, because I spoke a judgment about Nairobi, courtesy of stolen elections. That's why Kenya is the way we are. We are stagnant. Destinies are stagnated. Courtesy of a captain that has no shamar, because God never justifies criminality. So the political class, listen. If you mean what you're saying, that you want clean elections, be genuine and be sincere. The right thing to do is to defunk, actually champion for the solution of that IBC, then have a new outfit. You did it piecemeal. That was not true. then even the judges needs to be, all of them be sent home because they know the truth about Kenya the way we are. Police also needs to be reformed so that you get rid of rogue policemen who are hired to kill. Then these are the things be investigated as well. Then Kenya will be set for righteousness. Otherwise, you are in a nation that is sitting on a time bomb. 2026 ndio hii. 2027 is we are staring at it. Crossing between here and there, you'll need God. Removing Ruto from power, impossible. Impossible. Unless you resort to crooked means. And you know what? He's more crooked than the rest we know. So, thing that need to be done is go for reformations. Someone, hallelujah. Hallelujah. Prophecy number 3 is to do with Luo Nyanza and ODM. I'm so sad about Lakeside residents, the Luo Nyanza. They danced to the tune of everything. While Odinga was alive, and sometime in 2022 or 2023, I gave a prophecy about William Ruto, actually 2022, William Ruto inheriting Raila Odinga's mantle. When I gave it, I was despised. I said, Ruto will inherit Odinga's mantle. Now, 2023, today is in 2020, what? Has it not happened? Ruto has inherited ODM. And he has actually filled into the space of Raila's mantra in Nyanza. So he's controlling the shots using his ODM. You know what? He's having it. He's having it. And Luo Nyanza have forgotten about everything. And they are behind this bandwagon where lies are dispensed. And that's the end of Luo Nyanza. Supporting a hand that they have been fighting for many years. I wish supporting Ruto was born of God for ODM. Not survival the way we see elements in Luo Nyanza angling themselves as hungry hyenas, eating and drinking. But people are poor, have no roads. Judgment of God that actually is eating Ruto is the same judgment that will be eating Luo Nyanza. So which way ODM? As I follow prophecies, why should I give you answers when I don't want you in time that the moment Ruto enters a merger with Raila Odinga, that will be the end of ODM. So why should I give you remedy now? I said, Toto. When you wake up from your stupid slumber, you shall find me here. I call it a foolish slumber. Msiba wa kujitakia hauna kilio. So who shall take over? I say they'll scramble and scramble and scramble, and they'll bite each other and bite each other until they're all finished. You are warned, you despise the warning. So that's the result.